Okay, so the next question, it says passes through, and it gives us a few points. Okay, negative 2, 0, 8, 0, and 2, negative 24. Okay, so whenever y is 0, we know that the x is going to be our x-intercept. So y is 0 here and here, so we know that this is going to be an x-intercept. We can call that one p. This y is 0 here, so this one could also be an x-intercept, so we'll call that one q. And when they give us a random point, we'll just call that x and y. Okay, so in this problem, because they're very specific about what points it passes through, especially this point, we have to solve for a first. Okay, so we solve for a by using our intercept form, because that's what they have given us, intercepts, so we can use our intercept form, x minus p, x minus q. Okay, in this, we're going to solve for a, but we know everything else. So we know that y is negative 24. We're going to solve for a. We know that x is 2, minus, we know that p is negative 2. Okay, we know that x is 2, and we know that q is negative 8. Or sorry, just 8. So x minus q is 2 minus 8. Okay, because q is 8. And then we know that this 2 minus negative 2 becomes 2 plus 2. So this is a 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. And negative 24 times a is negative 24a. This is equal to negative 24. To solve for a, we got to divide both sides by negative 24. And we get 1 is equal to a. Okay, and then once we have found that, we can plug it in again. So y equals 1 times x minus negative 2. And then x minus q, which is x minus 8. Okay, so this becomes y equals 1. We don't necessarily need, it's just hidden. So x plus 2, x minus 8. We can FOIL this, so x times x is x squared. X times negative 8 is negative 8x. 2 times x is plus 2x. And 2 times negative 8 is minus 16. We can combine these terms right here, and we get x squared minus 6x minus 16. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next question, which is a different concept, which goes back to finding the zeros. So find the zeros of the function. The function is x squared, so y equals x squared minus 25. Okay, we can say that this is a squared minus b squared, which we know we have to set up as a, which is x. The square root of x squared is x. Put the 2 on the outside as the exponent. Square root of 25 is 5. Put a squared on the outside as the exponent. So this is a squared minus b squared, which we can then put into x plus 5, x minus 5. Because of the rule that says when you have a squared minus b squared, you can put into a plus b, a minus b. Okay, so x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0. We're going to say that this is all equal to 0 to find the zeros. So x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so x would equal negative 5 when we subtract 5 to the other side. When we add 5 to the other side, we get x equals 5. Okay, let's take a look at a different question on finding the zeros. And this time we're going to have to factor. So 5x squared minus 5x minus 100. Okay, so we notice that all of these terms have a 5 in common, so we can take a 5 out of everything. That leaves us with x squared minus x minus 20, right? So 5 divided by 5 is 1, negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1, negative 100 divided by 5 is negative 20. So we're going to use our big X method. We're going to say that AC is 1 times negative 20, which is negative 20. and b is -1. So you want two numbers that multiply to make -20 and add to make -1, which are -5 and 4. So in terms of factoring it, it would look like this. We'll put the 1x term in here, the -5 goes there, and then the 1x term in here, and the +4 goes here. And then we can set all of this equal to 0. So we get x minus 5 equals 0, and x plus 4 equals to 0. So x equals 5, and x equals -4. Okay, these ones, again, unnecessary. I just wrote them in there. And anytime you see an x, set that equal to 0 and solve. All right, let's go and take a look at the next question. The next question is saying to look at a graph and identify the characteristics of that graph. So if the graph looks something like that, we can tell that it's increasing. Okay, all the way up until this is 1 right here. So as it's increasing, as long as x is less than 1. Okay, and it's decreasing after it passes 1. So it's decreasing as x is greater than 1. Okay, the vertex is here at 1, -1, right? That's where it starts to turn directions, right? From increasing to decreasing. So 1, -1 is the vertex. Okay, and then the axis of symmetry is the x value that the line passes through. So it passes through x equals 1, right? So the axis of symmetry is x equals 1. So don't forget to write x equals. Do not just put 1, right? So make sure you write x equals 1 to say that this is the whole line that we're talking about, x equals 1. All right, so when they give us a function in standard form, like -4x squared plus 16x plus 6, to find the axis of symmetry based on a standard form equation, we're going to use the equation or this formula for axis of symmetry that says x equals -b over 2a. So negative b is 16 over 2 times a is -4. Okay, so this is -16 divided by 2 times -4 is -8, and -16 divided by -8 is +2. So the axis of symmetry is x equals 2. Okay, so remember this formula that says x equals -b over 2a. Once you have found that, we're going to find the vertex. The vertex means we need to solve for y, and y is equal to this right here. Okay, so once we've determined that x is 2, we can just plug in 2 for all the x's, so we'll get -4 times 2 squared plus 16 times 2 plus 2. 2 squared is 4. 16 times 2 is 32. This is a 6 at the end. Okay, so -4 times 4 is -16 plus 32 plus 6. Okay, and -16 plus 32 is 16, and then 16 plus 6 is 22. So the y value is 22. Okay, plugging it into this function, and we solve it all the way down. And so then the vertex is the x value of 2, comma 22. Okay, because this is a negative a, right? The ax squared plus bx plus c, the a is negative. We know that our function is going to open down, so this makes it a max value. So your max value is at this y coordinate of your vertex. So we can say that the max value is, or we could say max value at 22. You could also say y equals 22, but 22 is good. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at number 12. Okay, number 12 says graph the quadratic function labeled the vertex, axis of symmetry, and x-intercepts based on this equation that we have in a x minus p x minus q form. So 3x minus 7 x minus 3. Okay, so the first thing we need to find is our x-intercepts. And the way that we do that is we set x minus 7 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals to 0. So x minus 7 equals 0, this would be x equals 7. X minus 3 equals 0, so this would be x equals 3. Okay, so the x-intercepts are x equals 7 and x equals 3. Okay. Or 7 comma 0 and 3 comma 0. Okay, this is your p and your q. Okay, so to find the axis of symmetry, when they give it to us in this form, we need to take our p and q, which are the x-intercept values, add them together, so 7 plus 3, and then divide it by 2. So 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, so the axis of symmetry we want to say is x equals 5. Not just 5, x equals 5. Okay, and then next we can find the vertex. So to find the vertex, we have to find the y value, and y is equal to this right here. So 3 times x minus 7, x minus 3. And because we found that x was 5, we'll plug in 5 for all the x's. So 5 minus 7 and 5 minus 3. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. 5 minus 3 is positive 2. Okay, so 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. So y equals negative 12. Okay, so our vertex is 5 for the x value, negative 12 for the y value. Okay, and now we have everything we need to graph it. So if we draw our axes, okay, we can put our x-intercepts of 7 and 3 on here. So 3 and 7, we'll just say it's 3 and 7 like that right there. We'll say that the axis of symmetry is x equals 5. So x equals 5 is the axis of symmetry. That's a 5 right there, halfway between 3 and 7. And then negative 12, which we could say is like way down here, right? And then all we got to do is connect these dots in a smooth shape, smooth curve. And there we have an answer. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at number 13. Okay, so number 13 is negative 3x squared plus 30x minus 63. So the first thing we want to ask ourselves is there any number that we can take out of all three of these? And it is negative 3, right? So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1, so it would be 1x squared. 30 divided by negative 3 is negative 10x. Okay, negative 63 divided by negative 3 is plus 21. Okay, so now we want to factor the inside of the parentheses part by using our big X method. So 1 times 21 is 21. That's your AC, right? Negative 10 is your B. So two numbers that multiply to make 21 and add to negative 10, it would be negative 3 and negative 7. So we can put it into here. Okay, putting the negative 3 into here, making sure that we put a 1x term, whatever term this is, the 1x in here, so as x, and into here as x, right? So minus 3 from there and minus 7 from there. And then we have what we need to graph this, but we can solve these for 0 first. So x minus 3 equals 0 and x minus 7 equals 0. So x would equal 3 and x would equal 7. Okay, so on a graph, drawing our axes, right? X equals 3 and x equals 7. Okay, notice that the A was negative, so it's going to be opening down, something like that. Okay, if we notice that this was negative 63, then way down here at like negative 63, that's where it would cross our y-axis. Okay, let's take a look at the last question. All right, so the last question says 4 x plus 4 squared plus 4. Okay, got a lot of 4s. Okay, so drawing an XY table, we'll need 5 places. Okay, and then x plus 4, we know that our form follows a x minus h squared plus k. So right now it's as a plus sign, so we can rewrite this as x minus negative 4 to fit the rule of x minus h. So now it says x minus negative 4, which was the same thing as x plus 4. And so our h is actually negative 4. Okay, two numbers that are greater than negative 4 are negative 3 and negative 2. Two numbers that are less than negative 4 are negative 5 and negative 6. Okay, so what we need to do is let's actually switch this back now that we've figured out that our h was negative 4. Let's use it like that, right? But recognize that it has to fit this form so that this is actually the opposite of what we see in here. This should be negative 4. So plugging in negative 6 into here, we get 4 times negative 6 plus 4 squared plus 4. So this is negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2 squared plus 4. Negative 2 squared is 4, so 4 times 4 plus 4, we get 16 plus 4, which is 20. Okay, so this is 20. Okay, now we got to do it with negative 5. So doing the same thing with negative 5, let's plug in a negative 5. So 4 times negative 5 plus 4 squared plus 4. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1 squared plus 4. Negative 1 squared is 1, so 4 times 1 plus 4. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 4, which is 8. So this value should be 8. Okay, then let's plug in a negative 4 for the x. So we get 4 times x is negative 4 plus 4 squared plus 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0, so 4 times 0 squared plus 4. 0 squared is 0, so 4 times 0. Plus 4. And 4 times 0 is 0, and so 0 plus 4 is 4. Okay, so the middle value should be 4. And that's true because if you recognize it, our h was negative 4, and our k is positive 4, so our k is positive 4, right? The hk is our vertex at negative 4, positive 4. Now let's take a look at -3, which once we recognize that this is our axis of symmetry, we know that this should just reflect over, as this should be 8 and this should be 20, but let's do it either way and figure out that it should be 8. So 4 times -3 plus 4 squared plus 4. 4 times -3 plus 4 is 1 squared plus 4. 1 squared is 1, so 4 times 1 plus 4. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 4. And like we said, it was going to be 8, and it is 8. Okay, so now let's do the same thing with -2. So 4 times -2 plus 4 squared plus 4. -2 plus 4 is 2, so 4 times 2 squared plus 4. 2 squared is 4, so 4 times 4 plus 4. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 4 is 20. So like we said, this would be 20. This is also 20. So now all we got to do is graph this. On these axes. Okay, so -4, 4. So -4, +4. Say something like right there. -3, 8. Say something like right there. And then -220, that's way up here, right? It'd be like way up here. So let's just worry about connecting these ones. And so then we got -5. And then 8. So 8, -5, 8 is somewhere over here also. So if we connect these dots in a smooth U shape, that's what our graph should look like.